It all comes down to cash and creative. And it feels like here, maybe the creative Wyndham is not tickled with. What do you remember about the frustrations about Wyndham maybe not being in contact with the office? And there was a debate about whether or not he should be the next champ and whether or not he had his surgery like he was supposed to.
So much controversy surrounding that, and so much of it unnecessary. It simply was a matter of bad communication. Maybe over the years, Barry's reputation has not been kind to him for situations just like this. I don't know I can't remember if he had the surgery or not, to be honest with you. But here's the thing. We can talk about Barry not having great time management skills or great communication skills or whatever. Nobody can ever doubt the fact that Barry Windham was an amazing worker, and he would have made a great NWA champion because he could work babyface, he could work heel, he could work at big guys, he could work smaller guys. He was extraordinary. But the whole thing about getting somebody, presenting them that top spot there is that you got to be able to rely on them. And there was a consensus around there that, as Barry's hunger waned, as he burned out, what's the story here? And so if you can't really 100% or as close to 100% as you can get to rely on your talents, especially in that role, you really got to rethink that a little bit. So, some of this might also have been the fact that Dusty wasn't a booker.
Right.
And Barry and Dusty were very, very close. And I'm sure if Dusty had been the booker, that Barry would have been more connected, because he would have gotten one-on-one, good one-on-one treatment from the head guy, and that being the booker, and that being Dusty at the time. And they were buddies from years ago, and all the way going back to, Dusty idolizing Blackjack Mulligan, Barry's father, who was one of the greats of all time, and a guy that Dusty could really identify with, that Texas background, brawler, tough guy, and all that good stuff. So I think the Dusty situation probably affected Barry more negatively than anything else. And then we went to the booking committee. And now when you get on the booking committee, the other wrestlers got two choices here. When you got active participants on a booking committee, you can either get along or move along. And Barry, I think, was probably a little bit leery that he wasn't on the booking committee, that his lot in life there, Conrad, would not be represented as he would have wanted it, as it would have been if Dusty had been the sole booker. So there's a lot of things at play here. But Barry, I just think somewhere along the way, it seems to me like he just got a little bit burned out, and just maybe he didn't want to leave WCW, but I think he probably saw there was probably really no choice at this point in time. But nobody should ever think that his issues were because he couldn't work anymore. We're going to talk about some guys on the show today that should not have been booked.
Right.
They're on the show that just. Why? You got to why with this? Why is this match here? Why are we doing this? And so, I think that's part of the story there with Barry. It was a big loss because a properly motivated and incentivized Barry Windham could be as good as anybody that we had on the roster, bar none, anybody. But something was just there that in his head that didn't click for him, and it lost its luster. So it was a big loss for WCW at that time that, they were having issues with Barry because we were counting on him he was young, talented, everything we said. So it was a unfortunate situation, without a doubt, but nobody should ever think that the reason it was because, his work had slipped. No, he was still a great worker. It wasn't anything to do with his work. It had everything to do with his attitude.
Let's mention too, because you did bring up a great point that maybe, because Dusty isn't here, he doesn't feel like, Dusty can protect him or Dusty's booking or whatever the case may be. Dusty has just shown up for the WWF in this era, and he's in the black and yellow polka dots, and he's the common man. But either way, he's gone to the WWF. And shortly thereafter, Barry would follow. We know he's going to show up there. He's going to work as the Widowmaker. He will eventually return to the NWA, but I do wonder, what if cooler heads had prevailed? Do you think if Wyndham would have been able to find some sort of, terms that he was happy with Jim Hurd, that perhaps Wyndham could have been the next guy in line to be the world champ? I mean, we know when Flair leaves in 91, they at least put him in the cage with Luger and give him the shot. But an 89 run with the title, that could have been something else for Barry.
It'd been a good move. I think it's been a good move. I always loved Barry's work. He was had that long frame and 6'6", good looking guy. The women loved him. He could fight. The guys knew that he could handle himself. Being the son of Blackjack Mulligan didn't kill him, because Blackjack had a legion of fans in his era as well. Got over big time in a lot of territories as a babyface and as a heel. So that would have been a nice move, I think, looking back at it in hindsight. At least it seems like it would work on paper. But we got to understand too. Dusty was Barry's mentor. He basically raised Barry within the wrestling business, because Barry hitched his wagon to Dusty because his dad, who, he loved his dad, his father, all that good stuff, but he didn't have any power.
Right.
He didn't have any influence. He wasn't in a position within the business to help Barry other than he was early on, because he got him booked. Blackjack Mulligan Jr. and all those things they did. But Dusty was really the guy for Barry. And when Dusty wasn't there, that security blanket was no longer prevalent. It bothered him. And so, I don't think Barry had a lot of faith, and it justifiably so, by just by the looks of things, in the WCW hierarchy. And certainly, again, on the booking committee, who was of all the guys in the booking committee, who was the friendly face there that was going to take care of Barry?
Right.
He probably thought nobody, because he was a one man. Dusty was the guy. So I think the Dusty leaving and going to WWF at the time was, like you say, is about as big a thing as big an issue with Barry being indecisive, being, are they going to change? Am I going to get my shot? Am I going to get a chance to work on top and draw money and make guys better and all blah, blah, blah. He probably obviously thought, no, that's not going to happen. So it might be just best for me to take my chances and move on, even though the Widowmaker was never pushed to any degree.
No.
In WWF. So if you just went there for the paydays, you made a little money out of it, then that's a part of the cash and creative thing. But to say he could have been happy with the creative in WWF as a Widowmaker would be, I think, a misnomer.
Damn it, son of a bitch. These are the noises I used to make when I cut myself shaving, but not anymore, thanks to manscaped.com. Here's the deal, man. You hear every single week JR get on here and rant and rave about his goddamn push. But what you need to do is get rid of your goddamn bush. We're talking about manscaping, boys. Get with the program in 2020. Manscaping accidents are a thing of the past thanks to the third generation trimmer with this incredible advanced skin safe technology. It's going to keep you nice and smooth. Of course, I'm talking about the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. Manscaped has developed the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created. These crazy assholes spent 18 months perfecting it, and it's got everything you could ever need with a premium trimmer. And when I say premium, I mean it. Check this out. It comes with its own charging dock, a rapid charging dock powered by USB. You've also got an LED light, which is going to illuminate the grooming area. The battery life lasts 90 minutes. Who the hell needs 90 minutes? Everybody I know has used this, raves about it, myself included. Jim uses it as well. We've joked about it here on the show. Get with the program. See what everybody's talking about. You've got to try it for yourself. And you can even get 20% off and free shipping when you use our promo code JR at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Seriously, get 20% off and free shipping when you use our promo code JR at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Just use our promo code JR. I'm telling you, your partner, your dick, and your balls will thank you. It is fun to just think about what could have been. Let's talk about what actually was, though. Lots of moving parts. Meltzer would report there's been several other major talent moves this past week. Johnny Ace was in Atlanta for the tapings, but hasn't started yet. The current plan is to team him up with Shane Douglas as a babyface team And the working title right now is The New Generation, although the name could change. Sam Fatu / Islander Tama / Tonga Kid started at the tapings on Tuesday night, which aired this coming weekend, as a heel using the name Tonga, the Polynesian Savage. Tonga is actually the twin brother of Fatu of the Samoan SWAT team. Tom Pritchard, who was originally scheduled to debut this week, won't be coming in right now because the two sides failed to agree on money. Buddy Landell's name is back in the hat once again, but it depends on what the booking committee's collective thoughts are concerning him as to whether or not he'll be offered a job or not. The Rock and Roll Express are also trying to get in, but I've yet to hear of a scenario in which bringing them back would be beneficial. And the latest acquisition, both in terms of reputation and helping the organization, at least in the short-term run, is Terry Funk, who reached an agreement this past week and will be starting sometime in May and quickly moved into a key spot. So before we talk about Terry, let's start at the beginning. Johnny Ace and Shane Douglas, the new generation. Of course, we know it's going to become Dynamic Dudes. If you had to describe that team with a sound, not a word, could you make a sound that would replicate your feelings on Dynamic Dudes as a team? By the way, folks, this is all off the cuff. I just literally made that up, and JR knew exactly where to go.
It's one of my dry heave sounds.
Yeah.
Look, they were, thought they were the WWE like, and young and blonde and, good looking guys, good bodies, all that stuff. But collectively, they just didn't have the charisma that they're trying, like we're saying here about the Rock and Roll Express. You mentioned them.
Right.
Meltzer, well, I don't know what they do to bring them back that mean anything. Well, I can't really believe they would say that. Even in '89, they were as good a babyface tag team as there was in the business.
For sure.
I mean, come on, who are we bullshitting here? So, I don't know what they do to bring them back. But then when he came to talk to Terry about Terry, who was a friend of Dave's, they were glowing. And Terry earns all those accolades. But the Dynamic Dudes, it was an idea that you're given these mandates by the upper management, Jim Herd in this situation. We need to get young. I want a hot babyface team. No, God damn it, I don't want the Rock and Roll. How old are they? How long have you been around too long? God damn, I want a gin. It takes a lot of fuel to run this engine. Come on. Hey, look, today, you could use Ricky and Robert today. Sporadically, key spots. They had some great outings in AEW in 2019. Cameos, yeah, but it worked.
Right.
So I didn't agree with that assessment. Dave's opinion. I'm not disrespecting his opinion. I just don't agree with it. But the dudes it was an experiment. And, they were just, it didn't get over. And that may have been part booking. I think it was essentially a charisma thing. I think it was they just never connected to the audience because their costumes seem to be disingenuous. They're trying too hard to be cool, hip young guys. And Laurinaitis could not ride the skateboard. So, or one of them couldn't. I don't know which one. I think it was Laurinaitis. One of them.
Yeah, it was Laurinaitis. Let's talk about Tom Pritchard, our old pal Bruce's brother, one of the greatest trainers ever. He's got a phenomenal school going right now in Knoxville. I'm sure they'll be opening back up for business as soon as things get more normalized. But he didn't have. I mean, he has an opportunity to come in, can't come to terms on money, and doesn't. This feels like maybe a misstep from Tom. I mean, this could have been one of his bigger breaks. This would have been the most mainstream attention he'd gotten at this point, right?
Yeah, and Tom would have been a great addition to the locker room, a great guy to lead younger baby faces. In other words, if you had a personal angle with Tom and another heel against Dynamic Dudes, that would have given the dudes somebody that could lead them and help frame their matches. But that didn't happen. But Tom would have been a great addition. I saw where it said, the money deal. I don't know, unless I'm assuming what that meant was he got a completely lowball offer from the office.
Right.
And, but there's where your product knowledge comes and bites you in the ass. Some guys you want on your roster, even though you know they're not going to probably